In this section, we'll discuss average cost and marginal cost, as well as economies of scale. So what is average cost? Well, average cost is simply our total cost divided by the total amount of quantity that we're producing. So sometimes we call this a unit cost. For example, if we produce 100 units, we can calculate the average per unit cost of each of those units. The marginal cost is a little bit different. Marginal cost talks about the increase in cost for a 1 unit increase in output. So mathematically, we want to say the change in total cost over the change in quantity. And this can be represented by a derivative. So dTc of Q over dQ. So let's go back to our Snickers chocolate bar example. So recall that our total cost was 5 plus 0.5 Q. So we'll see our familiar quantity, fixed costs, and variable cost columns, as well as total costs. But now we have these additional columns of marginal cost and average cost. So let's take a look at the marginal cost column. So recall that marginal cost is the increase in total cost for a 1 unit increase in quantity. So beginning at $5, we see going up to a quantity of 1, we have an increase in cost of 0.5 as we go from 5 to 0.5. If you continue on, we see we continually have this increase of 0.5 all the way down to our quantity of 10. So in this specific example, our marginal cost is just 0.5. Looking at the average cost column, our first average cost at a quantity of 1 is $5.50. That's because our total cost is $5.50 and we're dividing it just by the quantity of 1. Now if we increase to a quantity of 2, we're dividing our total cost of $6 by the quantity of 2, and that tells us that our per unit cost on average is $3. So going all the way down to a quantity of 10, we're going to take the total cost of 10 and divide it by the quantity of 10, and that tells us our average per unit cost in that case is 1. So again, we can represent this graphically. So we see our total cost function, or line, which is the solid line that's going up from 5. And then we have our marginal cost. Recall that the marginal cost was constant for all quantities produced. And then our average total cost. So notice that the average total cost is declining as quantity is increasing. So this decline in average total cost is something we call economies of scale. So once again, this is average total cost will decrease as output increases. So if we have additional units that cost less than the average, then our average cost falls when marginal cost is lower. So we can represent this graphically as well. So our typical average cost function is this U-shaped function you see here. And our marginal cost function will intersect at the minimum of our average cost function. So to the left of this intersection, you'll see that the average cost curve, the orange curve, is higher than the marginal cost curve. So in this side of our graph, we have economies of scale. But when we move to the right-hand side of this intersection point, our marginal cost is greater than our average cost. So each increase in output, the marginal cost is higher than our average cost, so we're going to keep adding more cost to our average cost. So that in that case, we have diseconomies of scale.